And we get it rolling bright and early. Well, not that early. I couldn't get up early today, but sort of early. 10 a.m. on the West Coast, 1 p.m. on the East Coast. It's July the 29th. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera, open from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Also brought to you by New York-style Italian sausage. Man, the only sausage I will eat is New York-style Italian sausage. And also brought to you by Marin Autoglass. MarinAutoglass.com. Your windshield shatters. You need a new one. Call my man Saeed, 415-883-3030. Back by popular demand. The man himself. We go coast to coast on this Saturday for the coach.
Pay the bills, Larry. Pay the bills, baby.
How bees it?
They don't deserve you, man. You get some of the best drops, bro. Pig and a pickle.
Pig and a pickle.
You can never challenge Larry for being lazy. Never being lazy.
How you been, man? How's life in the coach's world?
Everything's good, man. Just got finished working out with the boy. I'll probably be on location for our next show. I'm about to go out of town, so I'm gonna do a bit of traveling, some work traveling, some family stuff. So, life is lifing. We're moving. Niners are playing ball. Let's get into it, man.
Let's do it. The first chat already. I've got one here that I've got a Callie Young. Larry, you must have went to the Taylor Swift concert. No, but, man, she's got some serious security around her because, man, they were chasing us out of the Niner, out of Levi's yesterday. You got to get out of here by 3 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It was unbelievable, the crowd. I don't know what time that concert started. I think it might have started at 7. At like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's all these little girls lined up in sequin dresses and boots and just fired up. I mean, just fired up for Taylor Swift. And What a
glitter.
What a megastar she is. My goodness. I mean, unbelievable. Tons of hits, but no, I can't say, well, I don't want to say I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I like a little more edge to my music typically. I like a little bit more. I'm like the guy who likes both heavy metal, country, and rap. You know what I mean? I'm like I gotta get me a little DaBaby. I gotta get me a little country. I gotta get me a little I got eclectic music taste. Taylor Swift has got a couple songs that I like, but I don't like her enough that I would ever go to a concert. Coach, what's the last concert that you attended? Can you remember?
Oh, the last concert that I went to I was in military school, and we caught the train and caught the Blackout tour in Madison Square Garden.
Nice.
So that was when Jay-Z was supposed to be retiring, and we had a friend who was hooked up, a friend of a friend, and we lucked up and were able to go. It was the last concert, and it ruined all concerts for me because nothing else is really good. Oh, I recently saw Jill Scott play at the MGM. So I saw her play in the summer. Yeah, so Jill Scott was real good too.
One of my favorite concerts I ever went to was when I was in college in Sacramento. It was like a July day, and Jimmy Cliff. I like reggae too, so Jimmy Cliff came to the Radisson in Sac, and the Radisson had a concert venue. It's a hotel, and then Jimmy Cliff's playing out there. Then there was like a grassy knoll. There was like seats in front, then a grassy knoll. Then there was a swimming pool. It was 107 degrees, and we're drinking beers in the swimming pool listening to reggae. I mean,
it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, those are the times, though, where ticket. How much did that ticket cost, Larry?
$38. Something like that. Probably cost $300 today.
Yeah.
I don't know what the tickets went for. What did Taylor Swift concert tickets go for? If anybody went last night, let me know. I'd love to know what the tickets went for. Nothing's cheap these days, Coach. NFL football games are bucks. Heck, I went to a baseball game earlier this year. It cost me like well over $150 for per ticket for a baseball game. I used to when I was a kid. I used to pay $2 on the ballpark express bus, $4 for upper reserve seats, and my dad would give me a 20. I could get a Polish, a Coke, watch the Giants, sit in the upper deck, take the bus there, take the bus home, all for $20. Now it's like, you kidding me?
You know what's crazy?
It's $50 to park.
I had that experience, but it was different. So I grew up in the Maryland, in the DMV area, and at Camden Yards, they used to have college night where you could come in for free with your own, if you had your college ID. So if you had your college ID on college night, you got to get in for free. Everybody was up on the third mezzanine. It was BYOB. It was amazing. Those were the best times ever because they were packed. Everybody could get in for free. So all of the O's games, back in those times, like we used to always go to those O's games when I was home in the summer. So those were the times.
Man, the O's are starting to roll right now, by the way. O's they got some serious talent. All right, let's get into it. Normally, I'm the lead on the Krueg show, and I fire questions. But we haven't talked for 2 weeks, and I've been in camp for the first 3 days. Right. And I thought, you know what? The first part of this stream, since we know each other, and we can skip the pleasantries and just get right on into it. But I figured, you know what? Let's flip it. Let's let the coach ask me questions because you, I'm sure, have a number of things that you would like to get into or questions that you have about camp, and let's start our dialogue that way. We'll go for a half hour, you asking me questions, and we'll flip it, and I'll start asking you questions. So is there anything that you want to get into? We have not discussed this. No plan. It wasn't like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go here and you're going to go to the tree and hang a left. No, we're not playing football in the backyard, but go ahead because I've been immersed in Niner football all year, but now I've spent 3 days in the sun, getting sunburn, watching these practices, and I'm sure you've watched live streams, you've been on. You've watched some of the comments. You may have even seen some of the practices. Go ahead, fire away. What do you want to get into? What questions do you have? And we'll flip it after about halfway through.
All right. Well, good. I kind of feel like I'm an ambassador for the fans right now instead of being selfish. So did anybody figure out what Kyle's ethos for the year was this year? Usually every year they have some type of ethos, whether it's reloading, running back, maintain. Was there any type of leakage about how Kyle's opening comments to the team were this year, about how he opened up this year? Like, what's the theme of this year's camp? What are they looking at for the year?
I think that, and a couple people asked a few players that earlier in the week. I think what he said to the players is, we have a championship caliber roster, but we now have to do the work to become a championship caliber team. So he challenged them to climb not sort of up the mountain, kind of up the mountain, 99% up the mountain. They're trying to get it done, and they feel like they got a Super Bowl roster, and I think he put it on the players. Hey, look, it's now on you and us as a coaching staff to come together and to fulfill our potential. Nobody wins Super Bowls on potential. You got to get it done. So I think he basically acknowledged to them that he thinks that they've got all the components to win a championship, and now it's about how hard do they work and how hard do they pursue their goal.
Okay. So coming into camp, I know we already know who's hurt. Who was out of shape? Who's looked out of shape? Who looks like they didn't come to camp prepared? You know what?
I think those days, Coach, have come and gone. I think it's like, if one, there's not a lot of guaranteed contracts in the NFL. There's not a lot of guaranteed money. I was tempted. They did their conditioning run on the first day, or on Tuesday at 12:30, and nobody has asked, like, has anybody, did anybody fail the conditioning test, or did somebody not be able to finish the run? It's probably a good question. I probably should ask that question this week. But I'll say this, just from watching the practices, I haven't seen what I would call the Aaron Lynch factor. Right. I went to training camp a few years back, and Aaron Lynch, who probably was best at 260, had to have weighed 295. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm looking at John Lund and he's looking at me and we're like, isn't that the 49ers, edge rusher? And he looks like 290. I didn't see anybody. I thought in the OTAs prior, the offensive tackle looked out of shape to me. But even he
Is
looks like
anybody
he's
fading during periods? Are you seeing anybody sucking
no,
in or asking for a
no,
blow during periods?
no.
Or
I
are you
haven't
seeing
seen.
anybody take themselves out during individuals? Like, let's say, you know how like when individuals go, they ramp up. It's like at first they go with instruction, right? Because they want to get it out. Then they go with pace to make sure they got it down, and then they go with frequency, right? They start getting rapid. Are you seeing anybody in those rapid last period, like the last quarter of the period, like the 5 minutes left in individual? Are you seeing people like take themselves out? Veterans, try to play it off like they're just fixing their helmet, but they're really asking for water. Are you seeing people sweating and breathing and being able to move through the practice strongly? Is anybody fading?
I haven't seen anybody fade. Now, Kinlaw's a huge-bodied guy, but he's lean and he's looked incredible. So, I'd be concerned about him. Miles Hartsfield, I thought looked a little bulky in the mini camp, but I haven't seen anybody who's faded at all. If anything, like Ty Davis Price, Elijah Mitchell, Jordan Mason, those three backs all look dramatically leaner. Like they've cut weight and they're faster. And that the name of the game in the NFL these days is speed. And I haven't seen anybody, and it's I always look as far as weight and that kind of conditioning. I always look for the big boys. And
that's my next question. Like, how is Spencer Burford moving with his new body? He got bigger. How is Drake Jackson moving with his new body? He got bigger.
Drake's moving exceptionally well. He's almost all of his weight, added weight is in that upper body. He's moving really, really well. There's been a weight kind of repositioning or reproportioning of the body of Diamador Lenore. Lenore is primed for a monster year, and he's definitely stronger than he was last year, but lighter.
Did Aaron Banks keep his body?
Aaron Banks looks the exact same as last year. Like his walk around weight, if you probably saw him at Christmas, he'd be 320. If you see him in July, he's 320. I haven't seen anybody that John Feliciano would be the one guy I thought looked a little on the beefy side, but he's a beefy guy. I mean, you're talking about a 325-pound center / guard. So but there used to be times when guys would use training camp to get into shape. Now it's like, there's you better show up in shape.
Yeah, like I saw because I saw Trent during the press conference. He looked in shape. You could see his chest, his shoulders were actually separated from his pecs. His neck was gaunt. It looks like Trent came into camp in really good shape too.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys like Marcelino, Debo, and some of these. To me, Debo is the one that is always like the concern because he's got the body type to put on weight, and to thicken up. But both Marcelino and Debo did boxing, and I asked Debo, "What are you getting out of the boxing?" And he said, "Man, those 3-minute rounds, you don't realize how long 3 minutes is until you're just full bore for 3 minutes." And he said, he did it partly to cut weight. And he's looking lean, really lean. I mean, for Debo, I would say Debo's looking the leanest that I've seen him as a pro.
The reason, and I guess I'm not even seeing the chat, but the reason why I'm so interested in the conditioning is because we play a very physical brand of football.
No doubt.
And with our brand of football, it's really important that we impose our will on teams and that we are conditioned because of how we win games, right? And being able to close out games with the run. If you can't do that on film because you're out of shape or it looks a certain way, teams are going to start not only noticing that, but they're going to be able to start juxtaposing their attack on you that way, where we don't really have to put as much onus on certain areas of the field or in the box, because we know these guys fade in the third quarter. Their run game isn't as strong as it is in the first quarter as it is in the fourth. So I'm asking these questions about the conditioning and how guys are coming into camp, because it's really important that when you run the ball, you run with purpose, and we run with will. You know, all of our runs can't be perfectly schemed up because we're on the right side of things. A lot of our runs are going to have to be hammer meets nail, right? We're just going to have to push through and actually put our running game down where it needs to be. So I'm happy about the conditioning of the team. So with that, with the offensive line, how is Colton McKivitz looking?
Now there's a guy who's in the best shape of his career. He definitely is in great shape. I mean, and he's in much better shape than he was last year. He's it's like he knows it's his go time. In fact, that's kind of been the interesting thing, is that, and I asked Trent Williams about Colton and his game this week, and he's like, he's got tons of confidence in Colton. I know a lot of Niner fans are concerned. Obviously, the Niners weren't as concerned as others about right tackle, because they've given him that job and they're not looking back. But it is interesting, just looking at the reps in practice, two things have jumped out at the tackle position. One, Jalen Moore is clearly the third tackle. He's getting the outside of McKivitz and Trent. You know, Jalen Moore, to me, seems like he's in the lead for that competition between him, Matt Pryor, Leroy Watson, Alfredo Gutierrez, Ilm Manning. The other guy that I think is really interesting is number 60, Ilm Manning, has been getting some reps with the twos that I think I saw at left tackle. And you know, Ilm Manning played left tackle at Hawaii. He's 6'4", 295.
He's got over 60 starts.
Yeah, exactly. He's got tons of experience at left tackle. He looks really good. I mean, you first look at him and you think, oh, that guy doesn't have a tackle body. But you know what? The tackle position has changed in the NFL. It used to be, big House Ballard or somebody like that. Somebody who's like 330 was a tackle. Now, if you're 330, you're a guard. And the tackles have to be able to kick out on these speed rushers. And they're much more, they're 6'6", 295 to 310, 315.
Yeah, 315.
This guy's 6'4", 295. He's a little small by NFL standards, but his movement ability, his ability to shuffle, his ability to come out of his stance, Ilm Manning, to me, has been very, very impressive. Nobody's talked about him. And I guess Forster, the O-line coach, did an interview yesterday. I don't know where the hell that interview was, because I was in the interview room. I never saw it. Maybe he talked before practice, and I just didn't see it, or didn't get there in time.
The same thing with the Wilkes interview, too. That kind of popped up out of nowhere.
I guess Forster talked before the practice, and with the Taylor Swift security thing, I didn't get in there for that. But I would have loved to have asked him about Ilm Manning, because Ilm Manning is legit. I mean, that guy is absolutely a good tackle, and he can he's for a guy, he looks like a guy who's played a lot of tackle, and he doesn't have the tackle body, because he's probably 2 inches shorter than you want, maybe 10 pounds lighter than you want. But man, his ability to move his feet is impressive, and I think Ilm Manning is going to be in that tackle mix.
What are you seeing? What are you seeing with Javon Hargrave and Eric Armstead on the interior, juxtaposed with Jake Brindle, Aaron Banks, and Burford? How are they handling the interior?
They haven't put the pads on, so it's like we're going to see the pads Monday. So that's kind of when I want to study those linemen a little bit. But as far as Hargrave is he's a unique guy. He has a huge lower body. He doesn't necessarily have the kind of upper body that you would think of a NFL defensive tackle. His arms are not huge. His legs are monster, but he also plays at a really good speed, and he plays with a ton of leverage. And then Armstead is just functionally strong. We talked to him this week. You know, I feel like Eric Armstead could play almost any spot on the defensive line and be effective. But I
what
like
I've
the
always
combination.
thought about Eric Armstead? Honestly, just a side note. You know what I've always thought? I think that Eric Armstead would have been the best offensive tackle in NFL history if he'd have played online. I really do.
Yeah, that's a good call because he's got such great feet. He's got great strength. But it's amazing to me, Coach, because when he came out of Oregon, first of all, I used to do the Stanford pregame show. And I can remember when Oregon came to Palo Alto and they took any 2 yards they wanted. They owned the line of scrimmage against Oregon, Stanford did. And Stanford could run the ball anytime they wanted. And Armstead, who was a blue chip guy who was slated to go in the first round, he was just getting moved. And I'm looking at Armstead early in his career, and he played, he lost leverage. He got moved. Now it just kind of shows how much the interior game is it's about technique, because now Armstead is absolutely functionally 3 times as strong as he was when he came into the league. You could put him on the nose.
The game has changed. It's not a lot. There's not a lot of gorillas on the inside in the jungle anymore. Ain't no gorillas in the jungle anymore, really, on the interior offensive line, where you got to make sure you got a 340 or 30-pound 3-tech. And he can't be 6'8" because he's going to get taken out the club. You know what I mean? So, like, those days are over.
But it's amazing because Armstead, I thought, always was an impressive physical specimen, but now he's got functional strength for days. You cannot uproot him out of there. And, you look at him and you say 6'7", long guy, he probably doesn't play with leverage. Now he does. He plays with leverage. He plays with strength. He plays with incredible strength in his hands. And he's a totally different player as a veteran than he was at Oregon.
Let me ask you this. Since Nick is gone, doomsday scenario, how does our defensive line look sans Nick? What does Cleveland Farrell look like? What do the edge rushers look like? Because they're getting more reps than they'll ever see before Nick gets back. So
it's a little scary in that, like the other day with the ones, they had Armstead, Hargrave, Drake, and Alex Barrett.
Okay. And
that's scary because, it's like Alex Barrett spent the entire year on the practice squad. Beal has started to show. He had a rep yesterday in practice where he just dipped the shoulder, flattened to the quarterback, and was in the lap of Brock Purdy.
Whose rep was that again? Who was that rep against?
I think it was against Trent, but I don't know. I couldn't say for sure. Because they're shuffling in and out so quick, and we were a little bit of a distance away, and there was a bunch of bodies. My positioning wasn't great there, but Beal is starting to fire a little bit. But they're thin, man. They're thin at defensive end. Drake, Farrell to me looks just okay. He doesn't have super explosive traits. He looks more like a run down defender than a pass rusher.
Give me a comp. Who does he look like that we've seen here that's come through our building?
I think he looks like Arden Key with less pass rush.
Okay.
They list him at 6'4", 265. I bet you he's closer to 270. And he doesn't have crazy bend. He doesn't have, but he's strong and he plays a position. He just doesn't get up the field like I'm sure Chris wants him to. Beal, on the other hand, has got real length, real speed, real explosiveness, and now it's about technique. Yeah, but he's gonna win sometimes just on his gifts.
Athleticism.
Yeah. And you can see Steve Wilkes encouraging him.
Has he gotten a move yet? Does he have a move yet?
I don't see any moves. I see no moves with Beal. I see just
so it's just raw athleticism.
Dip the shoulder.
If you think about it, Larry, that's a good thing. That's a good problem to have. if he's popping now and he really doesn't have moves, he doesn't have it yet. So that's promising, right? Because
the more I watch Beal, the more I see that. Well, first of all, there's no doubt he's going to make this team, no doubt.
Right.
I mean, you know, and I don't know how you feel about Bosa, but I'm of a belief, and now I'm not sure if everybody would agree with me. And I know I've thrown my theory out to people, and some agree, some don't agree. I think that the 49ers have already, you know, come to an agreement with Bosa. I think Bosa's agreeing to the number. I think they're in agreement on the number. I think they just don't want him to. Their only concern with holdouts generally is that, man, you don't want a guy holding out. Why? Because he's going to be out of shape. Well, we don't have that concern with Nick. He's going to be in great shape. So I think it's just a matter of limiting his exposure. It's the 29th of July. If we get to August 15th and he's not here, I'd be, you know, I think he'll be here within a couple weeks, but I just think they want to make sure that he doesn't get hurt because they know how important he is. And once he's here, you're not going to be able to not play him. He's going to have to play. So I'm
losing me.
I don't think they want to risk it. I really don't. If they lose Bosa, they lose a lot of their chances to win it all.
Larry, Nick can still not play and have his ass on the sidelines and be in the building. He can still not practice.
Yeah, but then what are you going to say about it?
Look, he ain't the Pope, man. He's not a baby panda where we're limiting exposure where nobody can see him. Like, if they got a number and
I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him until the middle of August.
You're turning him into a Rembrandt now. You don't want to see him. Like, come on, Larry. He could be in the building, bro.
You gotta have him in the Super Bowl. You gotta have him against Mahomes. You gotta have him against Jalen Hurts. You don't gotta have him against the Raiders in Vegas. I don't want him in those practices, and I don't want him in the preseason game 1 or game 2. I want him in preseason game 3 in a tune-up mode, and that's it. I'm pulling a McVay here. I'm pickle jarring my best players. I'm not exposing them to, and because you know it, Coach. It doesn't. We just saw it with Joe Burrow the other day. Any practice, any time these guys are going full bore, there's a chance you lose a guy for the year. I'm not taking that chance with Nick Bosa. Not when I'm looking at the depth, the lack of depth. I mean, they traded defensive end depth for Javon Hargrave. And last year, they were far more prepared to play without Bosa than they are now. Now they would be absolutely crushed if they lost Bosa for any period of time. You can't risk it. I'm fully on board with keep him out until the middle of August. I don't want to see him for 2 more weeks. But some people don't agree. Some people are like, they think it's like, hey, you know what? No, it's a crazy number, and Bosa is asking for crazy numbers. I just think that A-Ralt, his agent, and the Niners have had so much time to get this done that I don't believe that they're still fighting it out over dollars. I really believe the Niners, when I look at this depth chart, I'm like, there's no way they want to risk Bosa getting hurt. And there's no way to slow him down once he's here. So just leave him at home. Let him lift. He's going to come in awesome shape. We know that.
So what are we paying for, Larry? Are we literally paying for
17 games in playoffs?
So we're literally paying for what he does on the field. That's it. That's all. That's what we're paying for.
Well, I hear you. You want him. You're talking about leadership and get the other guys motivated and that kind of thing. I just think he's a unique guy, Coach. He's unique. I mean, you gotta have Bosa. I mean, we agree with that, right? You agree that they're not getting this thing done without him, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I agree that he's an important piece that makes us special. I agree with that. You know what I'm saying? I would never take anything away from Nick as a player, but I'm cut from a different cloth, man. He got to be in the building.
You're old school. You're expecting the guys to be the guys, and don't treat them special. Don't put them in bubble wrap.
It ain't about
report and play. but
that's the thing,
he's
though.
unique.
I feel like the way you set this up is that it's either you're on one extreme or you're on the other extreme. I didn't say that he needs to be back practicing with the threes, you know what I'm saying, diving after loose balls, right? I said, but I do feel like with that type of money to like pay him and then let him come in whenever he wants to, that's a little pretentious, man. It's kind of like
no, I think it's about the Niners. I don't think it's about him. I think the Niners don't want to subject him to July.
I'm talking about the Niners. I'm not talking about him. The Niners are the ones who allow this stuff to happen. Like, I'm not talking about him. Hypothetically, it would be the Niners allowing that to happen. And like, I just feel like optically that wouldn't be a good look. Like the rest of the league is like, oh, all right, well, I guess it's like in case of emergency, break glass here for Nick Bosa. It's just like you paid him. Like, all right, cool. He ain't the only person to get paid. Put his, you know what I'm saying? Like, he needs to be there.
I hear you, but I mean,
like, we talk about all of this. We talk about all of this Paul Bunyan shit with him.
We're talking about practice.
Yeah, but I feel you. But we
where's the answer? Where's Iverson? Practice. We're really worried about practice.
I just feel like we got a sliding scale for a lot of players and nothing really balances out here. We got a sliding scale for a lot of different players on this team. And I'm not saying that Nick doesn't deserve anything that he's got coming, but there should be at least a base floor to regulations that the whole team follows so you can go for the future, because no matter how much money we pay Nick ain't going to be here forever. You know what I'm saying? So it's what's going to last is the culture. What's going to last is the ethos and the way we got Nick. But if we paying him like this and treating him like this, it doesn't look like we built him. It doesn't look like he's a part of the culture. It looks like we got lucky and we're just paying him to keep him happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody is above being a part of this team.
Well, let me ask you this. How many practices do you think he really needs to get ready to roll? How many practices, how many games? What do you think he needs?
Preseason games?
Does he need any games? Does he need one game? Does he need a week of practice? I would say he needs about 10 practices in one game.
I would roll him out. I would roll him out no better or no less than any starter on the defense. If we lost losing Fred Warner would be just as big of a blow, in my opinion, as losing Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
Like, Fred is,
but they're loaded at linebacker. They're not loaded at defensive end.
They're not loaded at linebacker. We don't have a viable replacement for Fred Warner if he goes down. We don't have a viable replacement for Dre Greenlaw if he goes down. We do not. They're amazing, but let's be real. We're not that thorough from top to bottom at linebacker. We're very good, but come on, Larry. We're not.
I like some of the young linebackers. I like Marcelino. I really like Jalen Graham. Jalen Graham, by the way, played a little Mike linebacker this week. Mm-hmm. We've seen him a little bit at the Mike. You know,
I don't around. That's your guy. You've been on.
I love him. I love him. I think he's smart. He's fast. He's instinctive. Mm-hmm. He's nice. Let me hit a couple of these supers. Okay. We got this one from Brother Bob. He said Brother Bob calls me Kevin's dad.
Yeah. What did I call you as soon as I got on the line with you, Larry?
You said Kevin's dad.
I called him Kevin's dad.
Brother Bob says, Kevin's dad, give this money to Kevin. The sanest Krueger who won't say a pick six, 2 drop picks, and a wobbler is awesome. Kevin equals no spin. Pig in a pickle. Brother Bob, I love you.
In that other show.
He was wearing me out. Zeke Idelson said, prediction on Errol Spence versus T. Crawford.
The big fish.
Yeah, Errol. What do you think?
Errol, man.
Yeah, I like Spence as well.
Yeah, I just think physically he's gonna be a little too much for Crawford. And Spence has a granite jaw. He's got a jaw, boy.
I love talking fight game, man. I should do a. I should do.
You want to do it?
Oh, we should.
I'm a fight fan.
I've interviewed Tyson. I've interviewed George Foreman, the Executioner, Bernard Hopkins. You name it, man. I mean, Felix Sturm, Tito Trinidad through a translator. I used to go to Vegas for all the fights. De La Hoya,
Hey, bro. So
Sugar Shane. I mean, and then I kind of like the MMA stuff too now. I'm getting into that too.
oh yeah, I'm an MMA guy. I like UFC. So all right, so let me ask you this. I do believe that Bud is a better fighter than Errol. He's a better boxer than Errol.
Right.
All right. I know that I think Errol's a better fighter, but I feel like Bud is a better boxer. And Bud can fight going backwards too. Is there a way that once this thing gets into the championship rounds, because I think that it's going to go the whole way.
You think so?
Yeah, because if
both these guys have yet to be beat, I mean, it's going to be good.
If Bud can survive the first 6 rounds of what Errol brings, then I think that the fight can go the distance. Because Bud is very skillful. He's the most skilled fighter that Errol's ever fought. Do you think Errol's fought anybody more skilled than Bud?
I think Crawford's the more experienced fighter.
Yeah.
And he's, both these guys are kind of a little bit old school. I mean, it's funny. This takes me back to, Sugar Ray and Hitman or Tito and De La Hoya in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is going to be good. I mean, I think this could be a legendary fight. I mean, I think people could be talking about this fight for the next, the only thing is Crawford's 35.
He's that old?
Yeah. Crawford's 35, Spence is 33.
But I'm not mad at
Spence has got the longer resume as a welterweight.
I feel like 35 is like right before you get to the end of your prime in boxing. They're still in their primes.
Did you see Spence and Danny Garcia?
Yeah.
So, I mean, to me, I don't know. I mean, it's funny. Spence says he doesn't think there's anybody that he's fought that's similar to Crawford from a style standpoint. Styles make fights. It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Well,
I got that tonight. I got Red Sox Giants tonight. I got a bunch of stuff on the tube.
I feel like Ugas gave Errol some problems. There were certain points in that fight where Ugas gave Errol some problems. I feel like all of Errol's fights, I feel like Kell Brook gave Errol some problems. Hello? Am I the only one on the show right now? Because Larry looks like that he rolled out. But I do feel like Kell Brook gave Errol some
I hit the wrong button. I ejected myself from my own freaking stream.
I was holding it down for the 10 seconds you were gone, bro.
What did I miss? I just hit eject. Let me hit one more super here. We got this one from Binny Yam, Haley Mariam. He says, Larry, did you talk about Frank Gore's hiring already? Well, that's right, Frank. Frank's the newest 49er. I saw him talking with Adam Peters on the sideline during practice yesterday. I think Frank would like to get involved. I'm not sure exactly what the entirety of Frank's role is going to be, but Frank's passion and football knowledge is so great that, he's a made man with Jed, and I hope they give him a meaningful role. I'll say this: he was talking to Grant during practice for a while yesterday, and Frank. I'll say this: when Mason put one on the carpet, or it was TDP put one on the ground, Frank whipped his head around, and was like, "That can't happen." It's like, Frank didn't like that. He didn't like seeing those fumbles from the backs, but Frank likes the backs for sure. The Niners have tons of backs, by the way, Coach. If there's one takeaway so far, McCaffrey looks incredible. Elijah Mitchell, faster than a year ago and healthy. Jordan Mason looks lean and mean. Ty Davis Price looks fantastic. Kalen Laburn is legit. Wait till you see Laburn in the preseason. You're gonna love Laburn.
Yeah, I think he's a 3-down back. He's an all-purpose back. When's the last time
he's got strong legs, man? Really strong legs.
When is the last time we called a running back an all-purpose back?
He is all-purpose. You're right, because he can catch it. He can run him between the tackles. He's got some scoot. He can get to the edge.
He can tote the
runs
mail.
through. Yeah, this guy had 300 carries this year.
Come on, man. He's all-purpose, and that's what kind of jumped off the film for me for him is that it's like usually now with these. I mean, it's football's AAU now, right? All of these guys got some type of superpower that they do. Very rarely are you going to get a guy where, back in the 90s or in the early 2000s, you just had to play football, right? Like you just had to be a football player. Like now, all of these guys get these attributes like they're Pokemons. You know what I'm saying? And
right. It's a committee deal now. Yeah. You're my inside guy. You're my outside guy. You're my receiving back.
Guy. Yeah,
but they gotta. You know what? That might be a spot where you might see a trade because they are stacked at running back. Now, there's always injuries, and but man, this Leyburn is legit. He looks fantastic, and you really can't judge the running backs in practice, even with the pads. You got to wait till the game. But wait till you see Leyburn in the preseason. He's 5'9", 215, 5'9", 210, in that range. He's built compact and powerful. He's going to run through arm tackles. He can catch it, plucks it with his hands, make you miss in the open field. Downhill runner, great body lean. I love Leyburn.
One thing about the thing about running backs is either you have one or you don't. Right, you can't.
They got 6.
You can't develop a running back. Right,
right. No, and it's not about tools. It's about are you good? Can you do it?
It's exactly. It's not about tools at running back. It's
not about 40 times.
What can you do with your tools? Right. Because you ain't going to get better. It is what it is. Well, all we can do is sharpen the file. We can't put
production means everything, and workout numbers means squat.
Right. You can only take metal off. You can't put metal on. So
if you fall in love with a back at the combine, you're going to miss.
Exactly. So my only thing with Kalen is, with backs is that you just got to see it. I want to see him with the NFL speed.
You're going to love this kid.
I'm so hyped. So look.
You're going to love this kid because this guy's got the potential to really just be a factor. I mean, I'm not talking. I mean, it's funny. I said to Grant, I'm like, dude, Leyburn. And he's like, the Niners are going to try to stay quiet about him, and I'm not going to let him. I'm going to talk him up all preseason. I'm like, Grant, shh, keep it quiet. Keep it quiet on Leyburn. I ain't
going to lie. There is parts of me where I'll be looking at Grant like, I don't really want to talk about Kalen right now because I want to keep him. I want to keep him so bad, bro.
That's why I said to him, I'm like, Grant, you got too many followers, you got too many subscribers to be talking Leyburn. Keep it quiet, Grant.
I know, bro. I'm gonna call him about that too, man. I'm like, look, we gotta chill out with this Kalen shit. We gotta relax, right? But
don't because people will notice if you talk him up. There's been times in the past where I've asked Lynch about players, and he'll give me like a 1 or 2 word answer, and then the interview will be done, and he'd be like, hey, I don't want to talk about that because I really love that guy. And I'm like, I know. He goes, so he'll be like, in the future, don't ask me about guys like this, because if I'm glowing about some undrafted rookie running back, guess what? Somebody's going to pick him off waivers.
Yeah, exactly.
We won't get him on the practice squad.
I want to keep the kid. I feel like he's a special find, and also with the type of offense that we run, Coach Turner has been very gregarious and explicit about this. Isn't an offense where you know how from the outside looking in, everybody loves to have all of these superlatives about our offense, and one of them is that for all the success that we've had with lowly touted backs, guys who don't necessarily have the fanfare coming in, but Coach Turner has all but squashed that entire narrative. And he's said that, no, you can't put any running back into this scheme. You have to put the right running back into this scheme. And he said that it's a hand fitting into a glove, verbatim. He literally said that this is a marriage. The running back to this run game is a marriage. So the fact
if you're going to run outside zone, not to interrupt you, if you're going to run outside zone, you can't be a Le'Veon Bell with who likes to kind of pick and slide and take it slow and tiptoe. You got to hit the ground, boom, and go. Put your foot in the ground and go. And that's why I love Trey Sermon at Ohio State. But Trey Sermon is more along the lines of a Le'Veon. He wants to pick and slide and tiptoe, and it just wasn't a good fit.
Yeah, and you do feel bad for guys like Trey because, like, it wasn't that he was a bad player. It was that his style wasn't right for our team, right?
Right.
And
he was a great college back.
A great college back. And the thing about it is that when you're that good, those moves and that inertia of how you move your body and how you manipulate angles, man, that stuff is muscle memory. That stuff, like, that's the stuff that got him noticed. So it's almost an uphill battle telling him to completely rip that out and perform in this type of offense. So, Trey Sermon got a bad rap coming here, and he was a draft pick, which is kind of nuts.
Third round pick. Next time the Niners want to use a third round pick on a running back, somebody ought to just grab the card and rip it up. No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we're not. We're not taking a third round running back.
Yeah,
somebody take somebody else.
You know what you should do? You should take the pick and just take it and just make them think we're taking it. Just like, oh, another running back? Great. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, go get the tackle. So just
yeah, exactly.
We don't even have to do all of that. So yeah, I agree. I'm very excited to see Kalen. How's Jake Brendel looking at center? Does he look like that he's poised to continue what he's been doing at center?
Definitely. I mean, he definitely looks a little bigger, a little stronger. Looks like he's worked on his strength. I would say he looks like 5 to 7 pounds heavier. Mm-hmm. He's a major player in the drills. He's a good football player. I mean, it's like I didn't realize that. I was very nervous about him a year ago. Mm-hmm. But, the guy really played efficient football. Now, there's bigger centers, and you're going up again. That's why I love the way they're stacked inside. They got guard depth. They got center depth. Then now that you got Feliciano there, it just guarantees there'll be no regression from Brendel, because if he regresses at all, Feliciano's going to take that gig.
Okay.
We hit a couple more supers here. Michael Monahan says, grade for all quarterbacks, day 3, or grace for all quarterbacks, day 3, first team D, no pads, all rusty. Let's not freak out. Okay, I hear that. We got this one from Yodo Misfits Relentless. He's just saying, hey, I'm here. Then take $1 minus a penny. Mike Monahan says, if you ain't throwing picks and tight window shots in camp, you ain't trying. Yeah, I got no problem with picks. You gotta see picks. People think of picks as like, oh, negative, because we only see the heirs of commission. We don't see the heirs of omission. You have to throw a certain number of interceptions, or you're not testing the boundaries, especially in practice. And Stephen Draper says they're not loaded at Fred Warner, only one in the league. Okay,
I agree.
And we got this one from Yoda Misfits. Crawford hurt Spence with a counter right hook in the third, or say ninth or third.
Ninth.
Well, it says 9, but I think he meant third. So we got people weighing in on boxing, people weighing in on football. But go ahead, Coach. You got a few more questions before we flip it over?
Yeah, definitely. How is Jair Brown looking with the secondary? Are they peppering him in with the ones? Is he what's his usage like with the defense with the ones? And
Jair Brown's showing off the body. Some guys, when they're out of shape, they like to wear, looser fitting stuff. Jair's got the sleeves rolled up. He's showing the guns. He's got the short shorts. He's trying to show he's trying to show everybody, man, I'm in shape.
He's peacocking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's always good to see as well. There's an intensity about Jair Brown that, and Hufanga mentioned it. Tayshaun talked about him yesterday. I think they really like him. I mean, they feel like Jair Brown is going to be, I think he's going to force the Niners to go to some 3 safety looks. I think he's that impactful. But yeah, to me the safeties look like they're in incredible shape. You got Jair Brown, who looks like he's in great shape. George Odom is absolutely ripped up. He looks like he's going to have a great year on special teams. And then the 2 undrafted guys, last year's undrafted guy Hawkins is moving great, and Avery Young, the Rutgers kid, yeah, I mean, he's a former corner, and you can kind of see that coverage ability. His 40 time was pedestrian, like slow. I mean, it was like 4.78. But we'll see when the tape comes on, when the games start for real, because I like what I see from Avery Young as a cover guy. And then I went deep into his file, and I realized, you know what, the guy started as a corner. So he's got some corner movement. He
played a whole
ability.
Year at corner.
Yeah. He's interesting. Now, the 40 time tells you he's too slow, but it's safety, and it's all about your instincts.
So what's going on for that number 2 spot at corner? So who's currently there now? Demo?
Yeah, Demo. And Demo looks great.
Is he entrenched? Is that pretty much the done deal?
Well, no, because Womack looks fantastic right now.
Right.
So
that's what I wanted to talk about.
Womack's knocking at the door, and so's Deshaun Jameson, and they got Terrence Mitchell here.
So are they rotating solely at the 2, or is Womack and Demo getting reps at the slot, at the nickel?
I've seen I think Womack's I don't know about who's exactly getting the 2s at the nickel, because I haven't really studied that. And I've been moving around looking at these first 3 days, I'm trying to put my eyes on the entire roster.
Yeah.
Well, just like, so I haven't really studied exactly I'm looking at the quarterback rotation. I'm looking at a couple rotations, but I haven't really studied the secondary. But I think Womack is a guy that is got great versatility. I think you could see him play the nickel. I think you could see him play either side, outside as well. Womack looks great. To me, Womack and Lenore are going to play a ton of snaps this year.
Okay. And Charvarius, how's he doing so far?
Charvarius is in great shape. He's lean. He's moving around great. He looks healthy. I don't know how healthy he was, let's say from the middle of the year on last year. And then I thought he, in the second half of the year, didn't move as well as I thought he moved at the beginning of the year. Now he's healthy and moving great.
So do you think, as far as the corners are concerned, would you say that Ambry is in trouble with the undrafted kid that we got out of Texas?
Yes. And, I mean, Luter's on the PUP list, so we haven't seen Luter. But They love Luter, and they thought he had a really good OTAs, and then he got hurt with a knee bruise, and it's just a bone bruise that's been slow to heal. So they're trying to give him some time. But I think it's Oliver, Ward, Lenore are your ones, and then I think you got Luter, Womack, and Jameson, and then after that, I think it's kind of up in the air. Is Miles Hartsfield going to be here? Is T. Mitchell going to be here? Is Ambry Thomas going to be here? Quantrez? I think they're all in the mix after that.
How's Quantrez Knight doing?
Quantrez wasn't healthy in the OTAs, but he's healthy now. So yeah, I mean I haven't noticed him make any big plays, but he looks great in the drills.
Is it true that Isaiah Oliver's been getting beat?
I haven't studied Oliver. He seems like there's a lot of communication issues. I see him in conversation with Wilkes quite a bit. So maybe he's making some adjustments to how they want him to play this year. But he's a veteran who was really good in that nickel spot last year after struggling outside, coming out of Colorado. And he's in that nickel spot, but it's a different defense, different emphasis. So I think he just is trying to, get his keys down and understand what Wilkes wants to see.
All right. So look, with Wilkes, speaking of Wilkes, you just segued me perfectly. So this is 3 days in, right? From what you've seen from D'Amico and Robert, right, Saleh, how would you say, what is Wilkes like during practice, and how would you say, what are the differences between D'Amico and Robert towards what you're seeing with Wilkes now, as he's coaching the defense? And during individuals, is he the DC? Like, is he oversight? Or is he personally working with the DBs during individuals? And
he's
during
working with the
period,
DBs. He's working with the DBs during individuals.
Okay, so he's got the DBs during individuals.
He's the DB coach. Him and Bullocks are working the DBs. He's the guy, and he's holding these DBs to a really high standard. He's challenging these guys to be better. You know, they're not going to change a lot. I mean, part of the reason Wilkes is here is continuity. They don't want to change a lot. So Chris runs the front. Johnny's running the linebackers, and Wilkes is running the safeties. Wilkes will coach from the booth because that's where he's comfortable. People make a big deal about that. It's not a big deal.
During practice, though, is he the man? Is he the man, or is he just the DB coach?
No. He's in the individual. He's the DB coach, but yeah, he's the guy. I mean, Chris is a very high energy, loud presence. And he's very much, loud in the face of his players up front. So that's all. I don't want to say. And when Wilkes was talking about his scheme, he's like, it's not my scheme. It's the 49ers scheme. So I think it's almost like Steve has come in to adapt to their scheme as a veteran coach, and he's going to be here to hold those DBs accountable. And I do think you'll see more blitzes from the linebackers, which is going to lead me to another topic later on.
How did they respond to him during team? Like, how do they respond to him during team? How does the defense as a whole respond to him during team? Like, let's say
he's got a commanding presence, man.
Let me build this scenario.
Yeah.
Let's say we going through last minute drive in team, or we going through 4 minute, right? Where we get maybe a 10-play stretch and we driving, right? And let's say offense is whooping defense's ass. We moving the ball, right? And Coach Wilkes is getting pissed off because he's got to galvanize his defense at that time, right? We moving. How is he yelling? Is he disappointed as a whole? Or is he getting right to work? Is he kind of going to his guys, and Chris is going to his guys, and Johnny's going to his guys? Or is he snatching up the defense by the back of their neck? How are they responding to him? How's he?
Well, first of all, there's great respect for him. He's got a real presence when he stands up before the team. He's prepared. He knows what he's very prepared. What you're asking is a little premature because here in the early 3 practices of camp, the Niner defense has been all over the Niner offense.
So it ain't even got bad yet. Yeah, okay.
No, right. There's been no moments of the defense is leading the charge. The defense is the more dominant side. And let's be honest, offensive football, I mean, I'm not telling you this, I'm just saying it to you so everybody else can hear it. Offensive football is about precision, and it's about timing. Defensive football is about desire and accountability and talent and speed. And right now, the Niner defensive talent is ahead. They're ahead of the offense, and they're overwhelming the offense. There's no room out there for the offense to operate for the most part. The offense can't run to the edges. The offense can't fool the defense.
They can't control the line of scrimmage at all.
No, the defense is setting the tone. The defense is the more dominant unit. You can see it so far. And that's the same. I bet you if we were in 32 camps around the league, I bet you 30 of them, the defense would be beating the offense at this point. But as the offense precision gets better, as they get reps, they start to win. And that's the natural progression. But early in camp, the defense is generally ahead of the offense. And in this camp, there's no doubt. That's the deal.
This is why I believe the Las Vegas trip is so important for everybody, right? Because of complementary football, people don't look at the root word of complementary football, which is complement, right? And when you have a team that complements each other so well, I mean, sometimes I worry about our defense getting a real look, right? Because of our offense is so unique in its pursuit of how they move the ball. It's pretty hard to forget these run fits, to forget where this ball is going, to forget the concepts, the passing concepts that they have. So a lot of times we can get high on our own supply with, the defense may look good now, and they may look good throughout all the camp, because if you think about it, historically, our offense always struggles with our defense throughout the entire camp. It's not just, it's not
well,
just
the Niners have the number one D
through the entire camp.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners were number 5 on O, but they were numbers 1 on D and number 1 against the run. And you see that. And now you got Kinlaw playing really well. Fred and Dre.
How well is he playing?
He looks great. I mean, Kinlaw looks great right now. He's healthy. He's light. He's moving. He's got momentum. I asked Wilkes this the other day. I'm like, there's some real momentum here with Kinlaw. And he's like, he's put in the work, man. He's put in the work. He's lean. He's moving well. He doesn't have any sleeve on the knee. I don't think there's any pain there. And he's been able to keep it going this entire offseason. So, Javon is at that part in the road where you're either going to be an NFL player and get that second contract, or you're not. And he knows it, and the light's on, and he's fully aware, and he's dialed in. So he might, and that might be one of the big impact things for the Niners this year. Is that if Kinlaw fulfills his potential in a contract year, that could vault them to another level on defense, which is hard to believe, but he's that kind of a talent. I asked Hargrave, or Hargrave was asked about Kinlaw. I asked Wilkes about Kinlaw, and Wilkes raved about him. Somebody else asked Javon about Javon Kinlaw, and he just said, man, he's a freak. He's an absolute freak, and they've known each other for years. Both those guys coming from the state of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. Couple more supers here. Binyam Halamariam says, Larry, I already got that one. We got Mike Monahan. He says, grace for all quarterbacks. Day 3, first. Okay, we got that one. We got that one. Okay. Did we get this one? If you ain't throwing picks and tight windows in camp, you ain't trying. Okay, we got that one. Stephen Draper. They're not loaded. Okay, we got that one. Yoda, Misfits, Crawford hurt Spence with the counter. We got that one. Sorry. Mike Monahan. Hurry up with launching your channel, coach. My subscribe finger is cramping up on me, bro.
Guys, all right, so give me a second. So look, I just started a new job and I got some family stuff, guys. I swear to you, my channel will be up before the season starts. It will be up. Okay. I understand. I will not let y'all down. I have tons of people who are on top of me, telling me that I need to get this channel going. It's going to be on point. Me and Larry have already talked about this.
In fact, my tech guy is ready to help you in any way you need help, as far as, the tech side of the whole thing. So he's ready to help you whenever you need help.
It's coming, guys. I got so much in store, but I want to do it the right way. But I promise, guys, my channel will be up before the season starts.
Slick Niner says, how is the right side looking on the O-line?
That's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, the right side's, I would say, once again, the defense is ahead of the offense. The Niners have struggled to run the ball to the right side thus far. They're struggling running the ball. So we'll see where it goes when it counts for real. But so far they've struggled. Bass _Spokane Niner fan says, with Wilkes spending more time with the secondary, do we regress in the front 7? And how important is Bosa's signing timeline to mesh with Wilkes' plan? I'm not worried about Bosa, and I'm actually not worried about the front. The Niners front is going to be whatever it was. You know what I mean? There's been no impact. I don't think it's going to be impacted by Wilkes's, Wilkes taking over as the defensive coordinator. I mean, all these defensive coordinators have different personalities, by the way, but Wilkes has got a great command of the room. And what I've seen is that the DBs are holding themselves to higher levels of accountability. When you talk about their play, they all seem to feel like they need to improve. Hafanga said it. Lenore said it. Gibson said it. It's a different room. It's a younger room. And I asked Gibson about that yesterday. He's like, yeah, I need to assert more leadership because it is a younger room.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just excited for what we do once the pads come on. But I feel like a lot of times we may get into a position of feeling like, the coverage or the scrutiny or the evaluation of what the team is giving us without pads doesn't matter, but it matters. You know what I'm saying? I understand that we have a physical brand of football and that, things are going to contextualize once the boys are really be able to go full tilt. But truthfully, there's a lot that you could tell now that, really, the pads don't matter at all, So you can't, I don't care what pads you put on. If you're not in shape, the pads don't matter, right? If we're having somebody who's consistently blowing, having MAs, missed assignments, and can't handle the speed of the game, that has nothing to do with pads. If we got DBs taking wrong routes or figuring out how the team responds to the coaching staff, that has nothing to do with pads. So, I understand that we want to get to the physical side and we want to hear the pads pop and we want to see the boys get going. But truth be told, training camp in 2023, like I said, I'm more excited to see what we do against Vegas because these boys ain't beating on each other, Larry. You know it. They ain't beating on each other.
No. I mean, and you don't want that. You don't want that. I mean, you don't want, I mean, that the best part, you say, what's the best part of the first 3 days? Guys look in shape and nobody's gone down with injuries. That's been perfect. The best, that's been the best part of the 3 days. And you know what? Sometimes you do see, I mean, it's like anything else. It's like anytime you're going from working out to now you're on the field, there's always potential for injuries. And luckily, they've been able to, practice this week. And we'll see now after the off day how guys bounce back. Sometimes, your body gets that off day and it's like, oh, wait a second, I got this bump, I got this bruise. But we'll see. I mean, so far, it's been a full go. They've been very healthy.
Yeah, it's I'm happy in the direction that we're going. Even with the quarterback competition, it's day 3, and for what I see that they're trying to do is they're building plausible deniability. They're looking at the end of the season, which can be a little dangerous, but they're looking for the end of the season to make sure that they make it. So they gotta parse out all of those reps a certain way, but
as far as the quarterbacks are concerned, Matt Barrows from The Athletic noted today or yesterday after practice that Trey is through in 11-on-11 situations through the first 3 days of training camp. Lance is 7 of 14. 7 of 14. It is interesting that.
What are the rest of the quarterbacks?
He didn't have everybody down here. Purdy had a rough first day. He was 3 of 10. He was 6 of 11 on day 2. Allen has I'll just tell you what I see. I see Allen as a guy who anything beyond 20 yards, his accuracy is spotty. Like he'll get it in the area, but he doesn't put it on anybody's hands with any consistency. On anything downfield. Darnold, the last 2 days have been dramatic because Darnold has played incredible and Trey's body language has been awful. And that's the concern.
Larry, you said the words incredible. Sam Darnold has looked incredible.
He had a pass almost 40 yards down the field where he just flicked it. And he had Womack. He had Ray one-on-one on the far sideline against Womack. And it was an incompletion because I think Womack made a last-second swipe at the ball. But the ball could not have been thrown any better. It was like he hand-delivered it and just dropped it right in his hands. And then, Darnold yesterday at practice had 3 dimes, just flat-out dimes. Trey is struggling right now on, just the basics. He had the Braden Willis in the flat. There was no defender in between him. Threw it into the ground. Couple plays prior, he had Jordan Mason in the flat. He threw it so far behind him, he didn't get a hand on it. It's not how he looks. It's the body language.
The pass that Trey missed in the flat,
Yeah.
to Braden Willis, right? That was under duress, right? That was a free blitzer coming off the edge, right? That was the offensive line's fault, right?
There was no defender between Willis and Trey.
Was Trey under duress?
Well, there was a guy that was coming off the edge, but he wasn't coming in, he was just, the angle was the receiver was outside and the guy was coming off the edge. It wasn't like he had to layer it over the receiver and drop it, over the defender, I should say. The receiver was just in the flat, and he should have either let him or hit him in the numbers, and it hit the turf, and Willis didn't even get a finger on it. But that's not the issue. The issue, from what I see, and I couldn't believe this, is that it seems like in this last day or two, Trey has lost confidence. Maybe it's a bad day or two, but he did not. Did you see the post-practice interview that we did with Trey?
Yeah, I saw it.
His answers, like Grant asked him about Christensen. He didn't even want to talk about Christensen. And I get the sense it was like, because Christensen is about, hey, things that I've done to improve. And then I'm coming off a practice where I really struggled with my accuracy. So I don't want to take victory laps on my improvement after a practice where I struggled to complete passes. He only completed 1 or 2 passes. The only one that he completed was, now granted, he's not getting a lot of passes. There's a lot of people that are critical of the fact that they're splitting up the reps between 4 quarterbacks, and there's very inconsistent reps right now for everybody that's not Brock. Brock's getting the first team reps, and then Sam, Trey, and Brandon are filling in behind that. And there was 2 practices ago, Sam waited like 27 minutes between reps. And, it's like, that's hard to deal with. But Trey looks like
Trey
he's...
waited both 25 minutes between reps, correct?
Well, not 2 days ago, Sam waited longer because they skipped him in one of the rotations. But they're all kind of getting inconsistent reps because they're trying to split the reps between 4 guys. And Mike Silver, coach, he said somebody said, hey, Mike, Mike's been doing this for years, right? And somebody said, Mike, what's your impression of practice so far? And this was Mike's tweet. He said, I'm struck by how many reps 4th-string quarterback Brandon Allen is getting relative to the number of reps Brock Purdy, as the 3rd quarterback last year, got in 2022. Makes you wonder, ... Now, people have asked me, why are they giving reps to Brandon Allen? There's really only 2 reasons that he's getting reps. He's getting reps for 2 reasons. Because either he's going to be the 3rd-string quarterback, and they want to make sure that he's getting reps, or they want to make sure that the teams around the league believe that they like all 4 guys, so that somebody will trade for one of their other 3 guys. Because if word gets out, you know what? Yeah, Brandon Allen's not getting any reps in Niner camp. Well, then if you're a team that needs a quarterback at the deadline, either a 2 or a 3, and you were going to trade a 7th to the Niners, you go, oh, we're not trading that 7th. Why? Because he's not even getting any reps in camp. They'll just cut him. They're going to cut him. He's just there for insurance. So we're not giving a 7th. Or if they're going to move Darnold, or if they're going to move Trey, if they weren't getting reps, then that word gets out. So I think they're getting reps because they don't know about the injury situation with some of their guys, and because I think they're trying to maintain trade leverage around the league in their guys.
Well, they're definitely doing the pump and dump, to kind of simply put it. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. What they're doing is, it's clear to anybody who's watched football past grade school, is that they're giving Brandon Allen the reps because they want to keep Brandon Allen, right? And that they obviously are going to keep Brock at number 1, and it's down between Trey and Sam, right? So, and we were talking about this in the summer when we were all when we didn't have as much information as we do now, but we were all asking, like, is Trey is the 3rd overall pick really going to fight for the number 2 job with Sam Darnold? And the answer is yes. He's really going to do that. They're really going to take the 3rd overall pick it's not even the fact that he was traded 3rd overall. It's the fact that they're capable of doing this. And obviously Trey, with only 4 real games, going up against a vet who's had over 50 starts and he's had over 5 training camps. He's going to struggle with limited reps, especially nursing his own injury and coming off mechanics.
And they asked Trey afterwards about the reps. Go ahead.
Let me get this out. It's just rich how the coverage of this quarterback competition is going down, where Brock, I'm so glad that Brock is healthy, because without Brock's arm strength and his talent being back and him mentally being ready to play football, we pretty much, those 8 games don't matter. But I just noticed, Brock overthrows 2 people, and I believe that your response was, I'm just happy that the arm strength is there, right? That just shows that, the arm strength is there, and that's what I wanted to see, that he's healthy, right? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he overthrew them. And there was even a couple of people who agreed with you. And I think you even went on to say, I wouldn't even put it past the Niners to tell him to go ahead and just overthrow it.
Well, because the story would have been, if he had underthrown it would have been like, see, he doesn't have the arm. So they're trying to be. I think I actually bet a guy on the sideline. I go, I bet you anything he will take multiple shots down the field and that he will overthrow those receivers.
All right,
because he's trying to show I'm back.
Well,
the arm's back.
All right, I'm about to get that ass though. So we see reports on Trey Lance where we talk about Trey missing reads and going for 30 yards down the field running, and not one person mentioned that, man, this is the first time we've actually get a chance to see Trey Lance get out and run in the open field after he broke his ankle and had 2 surgeries on his ankle. Not one person mentioned that. And for some reason, we're looking at Trey as if he's just David Lombardi said in the airport the other day, the Niners don't owe this kid anything. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I feel like we got to call it straight. And for what it is, Brock is the number 1 starter. He deserves to be the number 1 starter because of what this locker room believes in him and what the coaching staff believes in him. But what I don't want to see is this sterile, ticky-tack, meticulous, petty criticism and evaluation of everything that Trey Lance does under his 4 reps during practice. A little context. That's all I'm saying. Just a little context. I'm not telling you to tell me that Trey Lance looks like a god. If he overthrows somebody, he overthrows somebody, right? If his body language looks horrible, it looks horrible. It looks bad. You can't do that in a pro setting. But all I'm asking is that turn the microscope on all of these players, not just Trey. All right. And the way that we're talking about these players is not aligned across the board. So that's all. That's my TED talk.
Well, I hear you. They're in different stages. Well, let's go back to your points. Okay, first of all, on the Brock day 1, the question is not about can he process or can he be accurate. At least I think most people's questions. The question was, coming off the elbow surgery, is his arm diminished? Because we're talking about major elbow surgery, so that's what I was looking for. And people were like, "Well, he looked terrible."
Major? The ankle wasn't major? That wasn't a major surgery?
But he was cleared from the ankle well earlier in the offseason. So as far as the ankle, like the ankle has not even been – Trey has not been asked at all about the ankle.
Brock is cleared with no restrictions.
Right.
All right. Just as long as we're on the same page.
No, but I'm just saying this was the first practice. No, but the first practice for Trey or for Brock, people want to see the arm strength. So they want to see.
Nobody wants to see Trey run?
Well, it's not that nobody wants to see Trey run.
Nobody cares, Larry. Let's put it out there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares, Larry. Let's be real about this. Nobody cares. They don't care that he broke his ankle, Larry. Come on, Larry, let's just put it out there.
Well, who doesn't care?
Content creators. Dave Lombardi said that the Niners don't owe this kid nothing. Nobody cares that he broke his ankle. As far as they're concerned, Trey should be ready to go.
Yeah.
And I feel it in the reporting.
Well,
I feel it.
Let me just say this.
Fake the funk. I can't do it.
Day one of Brock, Grant came out and said he looked terrible. I said he looked great. So it was like, okay, well, wait a second. People are saying, well, Krueg, Grant's saying he looked terrible, and you're saying he looked great. Well, Grant's talking about the completion percentage. You can't complete 30% of your passes in the NFL and be great. That's what he's looking at. What I'm looking at is what my question was. I know Brock can complete passes. I don't know if he loses arm strength, if he's the same quarterback. In fact, I would say if he lost any kind of significant arm strength loss at all, or if he really has to gear up to throw, he's not the same guy. So I need to put my own eyes on it and say, what did it look like? And to me, what was clear after watching that practice is the pass to Ayuk was a laser. The pass down the field to Debo was an absolute bomb. Now, he's trying to overthrow those guys to eradicate the whole narrative of, is the arm strong enough? So I wasn't expecting those passes to be completed. In fact, I thought for sure he would overthrow a couple deep balls just to kind of send the message, hey, I got plenty of arm strength. So I saw what I needed to see as far as, is he healthy? I wasn't even evaluating. It's day one of camp. There's no pads. I'm not even evaluating, is he efficient or is he game ready? You don't need to be game ready on July 27th.
Right.
But you do need to show that arm strength, because if you lose arm strength and you're Brock Purdy and you only had mediocre arm strength to begin with, you might not be the same guy. I'll say this. If Brock had come out and gone 10 for 10, but his ball wobbled, that's a far worse situation and he lacked arm strength, or he had to really gear up to throw. That's a far worse situation than going 3 for 10 and showing the arm strength. So I looked at it as huge success, but that's just day one. If you stay completing 30%, now that's not good.
Larry,
but he's picked it up since then. But let me address your other point. Trey was cleared from the ankle earlier in the offseason. He's not talking about it. They're not talking about it. Nobody's referencing his ankle. So I think you're right. I think we all know that he had ankle surgery, and people have pointed that out, but it's a non-factor to Trey or the team, and it doesn't appear to be limiting his gait or his speed. I mean, we need to take into account he had a major surgery, but that he came back from that surgery well before OTAs. So that question got answered in May, and now we're in July. So nobody's going to keep bringing up that ankle unless we see him icing it, he's getting treatment, or we're hearing that it's bothering him, or he's missing time due to the ankle. So that's why the ankle's a non-factor. I don't think anybody's out to get Trey. I don't. Now, there are people, though, as far as Lombardi's comment, I think what Dave's talking about there is that last year, everything was geared towards Trey. Coach, what is perfectly clear, three practices in this year, it ain't this year. It's not geared towards Trey. Trey's, are they trying to put Trey in positions to succeed? They're trying to put Brock in positions to succeed, and the other guys they have to get in where they fit in. You know what I mean? And that counts for Allen, Darnold, and Trey. So, like, the rep count for these other three quarterbacks has been inconsistent and oddly, I mean, and we asked Trey after practice, "Hey, what have you been told?" I've been told nothing. And then they asked Darnold yesterday, "Hey, what do you think of this rotation? When do you?" He's like, "Well, we talk about it a little bit before we go out, but other than that, I'm just out there playing." So I get the sense that Brock has been told he's getting first team reps. Everybody else has just been pointed to the direction of the field. There it is. There's the field. And very little accommodations are being made for any other quarterback except for Brock.
How do you feel about that?
It's cold, but it's also.
Do you agree with it?
Well, I just think that.
Let me ask you this. Hold on. I'm sorry. Not agree. Have you seen it done another way?
I just think that it's clear, Coach, that nobody outside of Brock is guaranteed to be here, quarterback-wise. That is shocking to me. That to me is shocking. I'll admit that is shocking. I thought for sure that Trey would be treated like a guy that for sure would be here, and it seems like he's being treated like there's the field. You're competing. We're setting this up for Brock, and Brock's going to be our starter at Heinz Field, and everybody else is in a competition, and we're not making decisions based on what's best for you. We're making decisions with what we think's best for us and for Brock. Mm-hmm. And that is alarming when you consider the amount they invested in Trey. But like now it goes back to these Rappaport, Schefter, Albert Breer.
Why would you think that's alarming though, Larry?
Well, because they invested 3 number ones and a 3 in Trey, and it wasn't that long ago, and he's played 4 games.
Hold on, but why doesn't that matter anywhere but outside of the 49ers? Like what? Like you can say that, I can say that.
It's just What are the
consequences? What are the consequences of that?
I think it's a glimpse into their thinking. It's a new way of looking at it. Last year it was about Trey. This year it's about Brock, and everybody else is just in the mix. Now, the Niners, I think, are rooting for all their quarterbacks to do well. The rapport in the room, and I asked Trey this question, and I put it out on Twitter yesterday, if you saw it. I said, "How's the rapport between you guys?" And he's like, "Great. We're all young guys trying to get better, and so it's like we really have great." He said
they were actually great friends outside of the field. He said outside of all of this.
Yeah. And you can see that too. You got good guys, and they are all relatively young guys. I think Allen's the oldest; he's 27, right? Darnold's trying to salvage his career. Trey's trying to establish his career. Allen's just trying to stay in the NFL. Brock is the number 1 guy. But this is and I got so much pushback when I said it in February, and I said, people are saying, "What do you think of the 49er quarterback situation?" I said, they're going to recommit to Brock Purdy as their 1, and they're looking to move on from Trey Lance. And a lot of people push back, "Oh my God." And that's exactly what it looks like.
Don't be trying, Larry.
I said that in February.
I knew you were going to try to bring up when you thought Trey was going to. I wouldn't do it. You're not talking about what I would do. See, there's a big difference between what I would do and how I feel. I like Trey. I think Trey's got franchise quarterback. I see a very raw player, and I see reasons that he's raw. And I'd stay the course. But it's not about me. I'm just trying to tell you what I think they're doing. And what I think they're doing is they've assessed at the end of the year. Kyle did, John did, the players did. Brock's the guy. They're recommitting to Brock. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of people, let's go back to February, Coach. In February, it was like people were like, "Well, Brock's got the elbow and Trey's here, and they're on even playing field, and they're going to compete for the number 1 job." I said, no. Who said that?
That was the talk coming out of the season that it was now going to be injured Trey against injured Brock, and they were going to compete. They were going to be on equal playing field.
Honestly,
and I said no. I said they're going to recommit to Brock, and they're looking to move on from Trey. And tons of people pushed back.
We don't know if that's true.
That was my assessment. That's my judgment.
Right. We don't know if that's true, but I do know that during like the Super Bowl press run, I feel like that's what Trey was trying to like will to happen. I don't think it was confirmed, but he was giving out reports like, I just want a chance to compete. You know what I'm saying?
Which is an awesome, he's a great, first of all, he is an awesome guy. He's real. He doesn't want anything handed to him. He just wants a chance to compete for the job. That's all real. That's all real. I mean, that's not like, you know what, that's a bunch of talk. No. And there's people that have said, suggested that he's asked for a trade behind the scenes. I don't believe that. I believe he wants to be here and he wants to be here long term. I just don't know if as his cost goes up, if the Niners are going to keep him here long term.
From what I'm hearing, man.
What are you hearing?
I think we coming at the point of no return, man. Like, as far as confidence is concerned, with him being in the building, with too many people seeing him fail, could be hard for him to come back from. It's almost like unringing a bell. You can't be around somebody who you have constantly seen fail and struggle and be talked about, and then expect them to be the linchpin leader. So I feel like if the trajectory of what's happening right now continues, there's no way that Trey could be the quarterback for this team. There's no way. And that's just based off of what you and I know walking through a building. This is the ultimate man sport, right? There's guys that won't make the field, and it don't even have anything to do with football. It just has to do with the feel of the room, right? And with what is coming out, and that's more of what I was leaning to with the alliteration and the coded speech around Trey. You guys know if you say this about a quarterback out in the open, what it means, what it entails, right? Saying that a guy is awful or that he has that's fan talk.
But
right?
don't give content creators power. I mean, I want to be powerful.
But Larry,
I know we all want to be. But we all want to be powerful. But we're not. At the end of the day, I've been in football organizations. They're not. The media has no power. No power. Kyle makes the call. The players have power.
There's things that I feel about players on this team, like specifically Brock Purdy, that I would never say about him because it's not constructive, right? Because he's too young, and it'd be crazy for me to say it because I'd only be punching down. Because Brock deserves to be the starter. And he deserves to be the starter based off of what he showed us, the circumstances in which he did it in, and him being hurt and trying to push his career. So there's certain things that I wouldn't even say about Brock because of the position that he's trying to go after. I just don't feel like Trey gets the same. He doesn't get the same agreements. Like, he doesn't get the same help. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could calling the kid a bust is for fans. Like, saying that the Niners don't care about this man or they don't owe him anything. That's for us. That's for us in the chat. That's for us to talk crazy.
But the Niners aren't saying that, Coach. The Niners aren't saying that. That's just people. That's just content creators' assessment of the situation. That's a content creator's opinion. That's not the Niners. But what I get a sense watching Trey this last two practices, and maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, I got the feeling watching practice yesterday, and then we went into the room and we had a unique opportunity to actually talk to the player, and I actually felt like what I saw on the field is what I saw in the interview room, which is I see a player that appears to be losing confidence, and I'm not sure why. If that, and I don't believe it's because of content creators. I think it has to do with either he senses that people in the room are losing confidence in him, or I mean, there was one play, Coach, that this to me was I thought the most compelling moment of the practice.
All right.
Forget the incompletion, and forget that happens.
The aftermath.
Right? It's a physical. It's a incomplete. Inaccuracies are inaccuracies. That's nothing. You see,
right.
Brock was inaccurate on some of his passes. Trey's been inaccurate. All four guys have been inaccurate at different times. It's one practice, one throw in the midst of practice.
Right.
But one of the times he dropped back to pass, he looked to his left. The window closed. He looked to his right, and I heard somebody say, "Throw it." And then he missed that window. And then when he went to tuck it to run, it wasn't like I'm running with urgency. It was like I'm running because the only alternative is for me to
run.
Well, the only alternative is to stop the play, flip the ball back to the coach, and look defeated. So I'm just going to run, but it's not really a run as much as it's just like I missed my window. I missed my window. I missed two windows, and I just don't want to, look like I'm taking a sack or I'm quitting on the play, so I'll just run. But it was like a half-hearted.
Hold on, was it?
I think it was a player.
It was a player who said it.
I think a player said run.
All right.
Or throw it. A player said throw it.
Right. I was about to say that.
And he missed the window.
That came from somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it could have been a coach, but I think it probably was a player who said throw it because they're invested as well. The players are rooting a lot for Trey to have success because they love Trey because Trey's a great guy. That's the thing. Everybody really likes Trey.
Being a great guy doesn't mean you deserve to play. I don't
right,
care
but
about
I mean, he's an inexperienced player, so he just needs experience. It's almost like it's like that old rub. Hey, man, you need experience to get this job. Yeah, but you need a job to gain experience. So it's this catch-22, and that's where they're at with him. He needs experience to win the job, but he needs a job to get the experience.
I
wish there was AAA. I wish there was a minor league system. If the Orioles have a prospect struggling, they send him to AAA. He gets reps. If you're struggling in the NBA, you go to the G League for 10 days, and you come back, you get some run. There is nothing like that in the NFL, especially not for the guys who are first-round picks and high number ones. There's no place where he can go to get the reps that he desperately needs. And that's why this whole thing with the reps is such a big talking point, because now the Niners are spreading the reps over 4 quarterbacks and not 3, and there's less reps for Darnold, Lance, and Allen, and Trey desperately needs every rep to improve. So ultimately what it's going to come down to is how well does he move the team in the preseason? Because these practice reps, even in padded practices beginning Monday, they matter. But what really matters is, do you move the team in the preseason? Do you produce points? I think those practices against the Raiders are going to be pivotal too.
Larry, really? I really believe that practice is it. Like if Trey is struggling in practice, because they would have did it when he first got. I can see if this was a we have to be honest about what the team is showing us, right? If that was the case, then they would have rolled Trey out in the preseason and tried him out in games. But I really believe that from our team's perspective, they don't really care about preseason and what he shows in the games. They want to see it in practice. They want to see it in practice. And if they can't see it in practice, I don't believe that they're necessarily going to be emboldened to put him out there. I mean, you look at the way Jimmy got on the field. Jimmy got on the field after an injury. He got on the field. Brock got on the field after an injury. They weren't necessarily sold on these guys in practice because they would have elevated them right away. But it just seems as though that the SOP for how the Niners roll out quarterbacks is they got to see it in practice before they roll the guy out. It's just funny that the only examples we have are the exact opposite of how that happened. But for now, with Trey, I just feel like he's buried in the process. They have a lot of process wrapped around Trey that he's covered in red tape. It's either the mechanics are done, he's not doing good with the limited reps he has, Sam Darnold looks better than him, and we don't care about preseason because he's got to actually get to a game. He's wrapped in a lot of red tape, and it does look like that even a glimmer of progression that, is attached with the first team offense. I think that the Niners won't be happy, or they won't say, oh man, we got a solid number 2. I think that if Trey was to show progression, they would look at that as trade bait. Like, all right, finally, he's giving us something that we like so we can trade him. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, which is totally aligns with my assessment at the beginning of this offseason, which is they're recommitting to Brock and they're going to move on from Trey.
Walk at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, I can feel how I feel about Trey and how he's being covered and how he's being coached and how he's the lack of thereof of support and trust. You know what I'm saying? Like, you and I both know, would it be safe to say that Trey's release completely looks different from a year ago?
Totally. Well, he's healthier, so he's got the finger. But you know what it is, Coach? It's the difference that I see. It's the resting point of the football, which it used to rest, right around the hip. Now it's resting right around the shoulder.
Right.
And so because it's resting right around the shoulder, there's less loop, and he's just bringing it up and throwing it. And so there's less mistakes that can happen because there's less distance from there's a shorter distance from his resting point to his release point this year than last year. And I think that's going to it's been streamlined, and it's going to make him a better quarterback. But he's still the inaccuracies. I mean, you have to hit the layups.
You see how you're going into his inaccuracies and stuff? I just asked you, is he throwing quicker? Is it completely different from last year?
Totally different.
Right. And when Kyle Shanahan was asked about Trey, what did he say? His feet look a little better.
The most interesting comment? The most interesting comment I thought from yesterday's presser with Trey was when he was asked about his motion, he kind of made a reference to the bigger thing is about his lower body mechanics. So everybody's making a big deal, and I just brought up the resting point has gone higher he's closer to his release point from from the rest point to the release point is shorter now than it was last year. But when Trey talked about his mechanics, he actually talked about his lower body mechanics, his feet and his stance from the waist down. He's talking about that. And I think that's interesting because nobody's really talking. People are talking about the loop. People are talking about his stroke, but it's really more about his lower body mechanics. So, we're just talking about a young player. I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking about a guy who played 1 year at the FCS level since high school. He was incredibly raw, and it's like they should have known he was raw. And the thing about it that makes it so complicated is the money, because now it's about, do you want to have a $9 million number 3 quarterback when every other quarterback in the league who's number 3 makes $1 million? Especially when you're staring at next year's cap, where if you could somehow move him in a trade, you could roll over some of that cap money and sign maybe Ayuk and Debo. So I think these are all factors. If it wasn't a capped league, then I think you just, you just stay the course. You just stay the course. You love the kid, you love his traits, and you love who he is, and he's going to get better, and just stay with it. Start Brock and just stay with the development. Instead, there's this clock ticking and the money's escalating, and you got a hard cap and you got to make decisions. So it's weird. It's a weird situation. And now you've got a quarterback that is there making number 3 money in Brandon Allen, who's number 4 on the depth chart. You got 2 backup quarterbacks who are making, combined $14 million between Darnold and Lance, the 5th highest and the 9th highest cap figure on the team, and you got an $840,000 starter. Now, if you want to look at the quarterback room in its entirety, you say, hey, Niners can do this. They got a $15 million quarterback room. Go with Trey and Sam and Brock and cut Brandon Allen and move on down the road and just develop them. But there's also the ability to roll money over. And I think you're right. I think if Trey plays well, this is where I think a lot of 49er fans and a lot of who are big supporters of Trey are going to be really, really dramatically affected this summer. Let's fast forward. He goes to the preseason. He plays well in a preseason game. I think there'll be a lot of people that would say, all right, he's coming on. I think what you already referenced is probably going to be the result. He plays well in a preseason game. Now there'll be more of a trade market for him. We think of it as if he plays bad, they'll trade him. I think if he plays bad, they may cut him. If he plays well, they may trade him.
Yeah. At this stage of the game, I don't think that they see plans. And that's my point, Larry. I agree with you 100%. And I'm seeing it play out. That's the only thing that frustrates me is they're not looking for success to help him. They're not looking for success to help the team. They're looking for success to get rid of him. Ergo, which means that if he's only played 4 games and you tried to get him ready to be the number 1 guy last year, that means that after 2 games and what Brock showed you in 8 games, you've already made the decision that you're ready to get rid of this guy within 2 years of having him and what you spent on him. All right, so let's take Trey's name off of this because I feel like there's a lot of people that think that I'm galvanized to literally Trey Lance, and I'm not. I'm galvanized towards the professional malfeasance, the organizational ineptitude that we would have to hold our nose with and smile through to put up with this, because then this means that once Trey leaves the building, Brock must work. Because if Brock doesn't work, then we're sitting here with Sam, or we got to go find a guy.
Right.
So
that's Cousins time or whatever.
Exactly. And
that'll be a bad moment. That's
a bad fucking moment, man. That's a bad fucking moment. And I don't think that fans are looking at it that way because they're so fixated on this black-white shit. And it doesn't matter, bro. What matters is they spent 3 first-round picks on a guy who they're getting rid of that they only played for 4 games. Man, that means that they're capable of anything. They're capable of anything, especially if they get away with it. And the rest of the league is looking at us like, look at these clowns. Look at this. They think that they're really going to get away with this. That's my big issue.
Well, okay. What we need to do, Coach, is we need to look at the names of the quarterbacks that have been drafted in the first round in the last decade, and then count how many of them are good and count how many of them aren't good. And then just come to the realization that the bottom line is we don't, and I say we, I'm talking about the NFL and personnel evaluators, we don't know how to evaluate the quarterback correctly. I was talking to an agent this week. He said, you know what? If Joe Montana and Tom Brady, who in this guy's mind are the 2 best quarterbacks who've ever played, if they were in this upcoming draft, he said Tom Brady would go in the 6th round and Joe Montana would go in the 3rd round again. So we don't have a way to quantify and understand the value of the intangibles. We can't evaluate quarterbacks from what's going on with the quarterback as opposed to what's going on around the quarterback that impacts how that quarterback is viewed. We're still talking about 40 times and arm strength and this and that, and it's really about processing and accuracy and timing. And also you're just kind of this unshakable confidence that you have to have in yourself. What I'm seeing a little bit, and I'm hearing it a little bit, is I'm seeing a lack of confidence in that Trey has right now in himself. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's because he senses that there's guys that don't believe in him the way they did a year or 2 ago, or if it's just about the lack of success he's having on a day-to-day basis the last couple practices. But he doesn't sound nearly as confident as he even sounded a couple months ago. And we've yet to put the pads on. So what's changed? Maybe he senses that there's a new world order in 49er land, this camp. Maybe he's being treated differently than he's been treated in the past. Maybe, it's like, the coach, a lot of coaches coach hard, right? And then and some guys are like, hey, man, why are you coaching me so hard? And a coach will say to that player, I'm coaching you hard because I believe in you. And then there's the other side of it. Hey, he used to coach me a lot harder than he's coaching me now. Mm-hmm. Does that mean he doesn't believe in me anymore? And there may be some of that going on right now, where he's not being coached as hard as he was being coached previously, and he's sensing a lack of belief in him or a diminished amount of belief in him from within the Niner organization. This is all speculation on my part. I have no sources on any of this. But what I saw on the field was a player that appears to be losing confidence. And what I heard in the presser was the exact same thing.
So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but what it sounds like you're trying to describe is Trey is losing confidence because he sees that he's not being coached hard. He sees that it's almost kind of like
it's a guess. It's a guess on my part.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm just off of your own perspective. Are you trying to say that basically, like almost like, you heard coaches say this, like, don't get mad when I'm yelling at you. You need to be worried about when I stop talking to your ass.
Right.
So is that what
the opposite of love is not hate? It's indifference.
Right. So if that's what you're trying to say, yeah, that would frustrate me, because if I fail and it falls on deaf ears, that is the number one way coaches give up on you. They just stop coaching you.
Right.
They just give you a pat on the butt and say, all right, move on, next rep. Right. And you can feel that as a player when you're being marginalized, right? Or when you're being moved along. And if that's,
I'm not saying it's happening, Coach, but I'm saying that that could be.
You told me.
Yeah, I'm just saying that could be what's going on here, because I'm seeing and hearing a player that appears to have lost some confidence. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I know everything about football, but I know enough about football and people to know when I see a player that's losing confidence. Mm-hmm. And he appears to be losing confidence, and that bothers me.
Does it bother you?
Yeah, it does, because I actually really believe that this is a great prospect, and I want to see it. I want to see him fulfill his potential in a 49er uniform. I don't want to see him fulfill his potential 4 years from now in another team's uniform. But
I don't want to see. I don't want to see that either. That's why it's so hard to like.
But I know he's going to fulfill his potential. I do know.
Hard. We don't know that, Larry.
I feel like I know.
That's what sucks about this.
No, I feel like I know that he's going to fulfill his potential, Coach. You know why? Because it ain't that complicated. You know, and I know it's not that complicated of a game. You got to have it here. You got to have the physical, and you got to have heart, and it's got to be important to you. If all those boxes are checked, it's just a matter of time. And I see the same thing with Trey that I saw with Alex Smith. Alex Smith was smart. Alex Smith is a good athlete. But look how bad Alex was. You know what? You know what year it was that Alex Smith played good football under Jim Harbaugh? That was his 8th year in the NFL. 8th. Mm-hmm. I think Trey's going to have an Alex Smith type career. I think he's going to figure it out and be damn good. And it's going to, I'm not saying it's going to take 8 years, but I'm saying it's not going to be the overnight, and it's not going to be by Heinz Field. And that's why when all these people are like, you know what, Heinz Field, they'll start him and he'll take off and he'll be great. No, it's not about mechanics. Oh, his mechanics are changed. Now he's boom. It's a really, really hard position, and he's a really, really, really raw quarterback. And I think he's going to get there, and I believe in it. And I'll put my professional evaluation and name up. I'll put it there. I'll say, you know what? I'll put my name on it that this guy is going to fulfill his potential, but I ain't going to say he's going to fulfill it by September. You know what I'm saying? I think he's going to fulfill it before it's all said and done. That's all I can say. That's all I can say about it. I really don't believe it's going to be right away, but I also don't believe he's like, the people are like, he's a bust. He's a bust. That is way premature. I mean, you could have said the same thing about Alex Smith at this point. And I'll ask you this. In your mind, he was the first pick in the draft.
Right.
Was Alex Smith a bust?
No.
And I don't think Trey Lance is going to be a bust either. But look how long it took for Alex to reach the level that he reached under Harbaugh, and he still got replaced by Kaepernick. But look how long it took. 8th year. This kid's in his 3rd year, and he barely played in college. We all just need to pump the brakes on these labels and just allow people to progress at their rate. And the only thing that changes things at all in this situation is the cap and what he's due to make. And will the 49ers continue to go down this road with him because of how much money he makes.
Hell no.
That's the the reality of the NFL in 2023. It's like you got to make it happen, and you got to make it happen soon. And some guys can, and some guys can't. I think this kid he's now at a point where he looks like he's lost confidence, and he needs someone to build up that confidence.
Well, from you and
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I look great.
But you know what that's code for. Like, Larry, you be talking in head. Larry, saying that somebody has lost their confidence. Like, all right, let me ask you this.
That's what it looks like to me.
Can the Jets keep Zach Wilson if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come in that building? You know Zach Wilson can't stay.
Zach Wilson's a totally different deal. He's alienated the media market. He's alienated his teammates. Coach, the entire team's wearing T-shirts with the backup quarterback. But his problem is that he never operated from a muddy pocket. So he's not used to the bodies around him, and he's kind of a smallish guy. And when that's night and day, Coach. That's night and day. You're not gonna if you're uncomfortable with all these big bodies around you, you might never get it.
Let me land my point. For all that he did, he was embarrassed in front of his team, and he lost confidence. Right?
We're talking about who? Zach?
Zach.
Yeah.
Thank you. So with Zach losing confidence and being seen as lesser than a player in front of his players as a quarterback, I feel like there was a lot of things that Zach Wilson did that happened inside of the Jets where it was too late. It's too much. He can never be the quarterback for that team.
I agree. He's lost the belief of the room.
Exactly. And
the guys don't believe in him.
Exactly. And no matter how you get there, once you get there, it's over. All right. So whatever Zach Wilson did, yes, he's not Trey Lance, completely different situation. I get you. But he did get to the point where he lost confidence in his locker room as a quarterback. And with that,
I don't think it's over, by the way. I'll push back on that. I don't think it's over. I think it's over in New York.
I agree. So what I'm saying is that when I first started this it took Aaron Rodgers to be there to clean up the stench of Zach Wilson being in the building. Zach Wilson is a good-looking backup now with Aaron Rodgers there, right? Brock Purdy is not Aaron Rodgers. There's nobody with the quarterback cachet to bring Trey on after he's lost confidence and being seen a certain way for him to be able to have the team give him social currency to say he's young, he'll get it together. No. Once Trey has gotten to a point where we're talking about him losing confidence, players yelling at him to throw the ball during practice, he's the quarterback. The quarterback don't get talked to like that. You know this, Larry. You know this. If a quarterback is getting yelled at during team, that lets you know how they feel about him off rip. You know that, Larry. Any camp you've been to, if somebody, that's why I asked you, who yelled throw it? Because anybody who would have did that to any other team, everybody would have been looking around like, who the fuck was that guy? And get his ass out of here. That's what I'm talking about with Trey, is that if he's getting to a point, there's a point of no return with him being seen, losing confidence, and being treated a certain way inside of the organization where it doesn't have anything to do with whether we think he's good or not. He won't be respected as the quarterback. You know what I'm saying, Larry?
Well, yeah, but there's a major difference. The players still, Zach Wilson can't lead in New York. Trey Lance can still lead with the Niners. You can't lead if nobody will follow you. The players will still follow Trey. It's not like he's lost his ability to lead. He has not. He's just young, and he needs to improve. Zach Wilson has lost his ability to lead, and guys won't follow him. That's my interpretation of the difference. But we're still talking about the reason I won't sign off on Zach Wilson either, because and it's the same reason I won't sign off on Sam Darnold, even though I personally am not that impressed by Sam Darnold's body of work.
Sam Darnold?
No, I'm not signing off on Sam Darnold. He's 25 years old. I mean, Kurt Warner wasn't even in the league till 28. Steve Young wasn't any good until 31. Sonny Jurgensen wasn't good till 27. Len Dawson wasn't good till 28. These guys are all in the Hall of Fame. I'm not signing off.
The land before time. I'm talking about now. Man,
yeah, but
get out of here with that.
I don't.
Bullshit.
No, because it takes time. It takes time. I don't. Alex Smith. I mean, he just stopped playing a couple years ago. It took him until his 8th year. He wasn't a Hall of Famer, granted, but I agree. He wasn't a bust. He had a good career. I'm just saying, I don't believe in this instant evaluation. I know we're an instant gratification culture, Coach. We all want it now. I get it. But just because we want it now doesn't mean it's our birthright to get the answers that we seek today. It's a process. And I still believe in Zach Wilson. I still believe in Trey Lance. Are they good right now? No. But to me, I would be interested in both those guys. If I were an NFL team and let's just say this. If the Jets kiss off on Zach Wilson, guess what I guarantee you is going to happen? He's going to wind up somewhere else, and somebody's going to give him a chance. If the Niners say goodbye to Trey Lance, whether they cut him or trade him, there will be another team that will say, I'll take him. The game's not over. It's just that we're in a weird world where if you're drafted in a certain spot in the first round, you got to deliver inside the window or you got to move on. And it's unfortunate. If these guys were undrafted free agents, they wouldn't have that kind of timeline. They wouldn't have that kind of pressure. But the money that's attached to them says you got to make it happen right now or you're done. You're done here. But you're not done. You're just done here. So I it's a weird situation. But I do think that we're seeing a little bit a totally different way that the Niners are going about their quarterback room. Last year it was all about Trey. This year it's all about Brock, and that part I think is undeniable, right? I think we all see that at this juncture. And ultimately it's just going to come down to you got to take the bull by the horns, and you got to move the football team in the preseason. You got to produce points, and everything else will take care of itself after that. I really believe that.
Agree.
If he plays well, all this talk about confidence will be for nothing. It's not about what he does July 27th and 28th. It's ultimately going to be about what he does when he gets on the field. But I think Trey still has an ability to lead because I know the guys really like him and respect him. Because there's nothing not to like or respect. He works hard. He's improving. They're all students of the game, man. Everybody's improving.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah,
that's kind of how I see it.
I understand that, my opinion isn't popular. I get it. And it draws a target on your back, and I'm okay with it. I always want to try to speak with integrity and speak with how I feel about a situation. And,
yeah, you're direct and you're truthful and passionate.
Yeah. So with that, I'm just here to see what the rest of the camp has for us. I feel like we already have our strategies on what we feel like the team is going to do moving forward. And really, once week 1 hits, none of these conversations matter. I love football too much to care about this stuff, honestly. So like once week 1 hits, it's kind of like we close the door really on who we have, right? And the fallouts of who's on the team, who's not on the team, who's starting, who's the backup quarterback, and who's not. It really doesn't matter because the rest of the league doesn't give a fuck about what we've been going through the offseason, right? So we got to close the door and turn the page on it anyway. So really, all in all, I'm happy about where we are day 3. No injuries. The quarterback competition is weird, but we just going to hang in there and see what it brings, right?
Exactly.
I hope that it materializes with more time. Like I almost want it to happen their way. Because if it doesn't, then it's going to be us looking at them lying to us, telling us about a plan that they already had, which is going to be bullshit. So I want the plan to work. I want Brock to be healthy. I want the team to pick up where they left off offensively with Brock. And really, the story of Brock is yet to be told, because I just want to see what he is. I mean, did we really catch an ascending guy that is just going to blow the doors off of this thing? Or what are we going to be dealing with? What's the floor, right? So what does Brock look like on a week 6, right? Or a week 4? So
Yeah.
I'm excited to just see what we're rolling out, because the stakes are high for us as a team, because nobody's giving us any excuses.
Let me hit these supers, and then I'll tell you what I think the biggest story of the week actually is, and then we'll get out here.
Mm-hmm.
Brock Purdy's balls says, how many reps did Purdy get in camp last year and still showed enough to beat out Sudfeld with a guaranteed contract? Sorry, not sorry. He got very little reps last year in camp, but he really impressed in the preseason. Brock Purdy balls says, Coach keeping it real. Trey deserves some grace. I would agree with that. Brother Bob says, Coach, preach. Kevin's dad didn't mention Trey Lance's run. Okay. Stephen Draper says, it seems everyone is getting some grace except Trey. In our heart of hearts, we know what it is, implicit bias. 49R Fan LA says, Trey is that dude in basketball layup drills that can't lay up underhanded and looks awkwardly coming off the floor. But imagine in the NBA. That's Trey right now in the NFL. I'm good. Give me Brock. Okay. Bass Spokane Niner fan says Trey is a gamer. Naturally, he's in his own head. He needs to just let it loose and game. I don't think Shanahan's offense is for him.
It's possible.
Okay. It's possible. Or maybe maybe the offense is for him, but maybe he needs a different coach. Holland Tracy says, forget the money. Trey 2, Brock 1. Have patience. And then let's finish.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't either. And that's personally the way I would go. That's kind of what I want too. That's what I would prefer. I really believe I would go the distance with Trey. You drafted him. You drafted him for a reason.
Before we knew Brock was healthy, Larry, I wanted Brock to start on the pup, Trey to play the first 6 weeks, and Sam to be 3. Right? I think we talked about that. Now that Brock is healthy, I want Brock to start, Trey to be number 2, and Sam to be number 3. But we just know I don't think that's going to happen. But we'll see.
Let's finish with this. All of this talk about the quarterbacks, and I understand it. It's the most important position in the most popular sport in America. So it's not like we're sitting there going, well, why? That's the one thing that always makes me laugh when people bemoan the quarterback talk. Oh, why are we talking about these quarterbacks?
They literally came here for it. Like,
yeah,
fans are hilarious. They act
There's 600 people in the room right now, and they're here because we're talking about the quarterback. If we were talking about Colton McKivitz's stance, it'd be me, you, and a box of chocolates.
Why do you think we got all of that shit out the way in the beginning? We had to get all that shit out the way. You knew what we were going to get to. You know
let's finish the stream with the actual lead. Like the lead is the quarterbacks because the quarterbacks are the quarterbacks. But let's talk about the actual lead. The actual lead in Niner camp. You say, what is Krueg? You've been there for 3 days getting sunburn. What is the story of Niner camp? The story of Niner camp, Coach, is Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk we got indications, and you and I talked about it a couple weeks ago in our last stream.
We did.
We got indications from these guys. Brandon put out the tweet, getting ready for liftoff, right? Deebo told us after the minicamp, I sat down with Kyle. We looked at film together. I sucked last year. People asked him, well, where did you suck? How did you suck? In what form? What are you referring to? And he's like, every way imaginable. It was terrible last year. And he talked about his hands, his route running, everything about his game. And I remember walking out of there going, whoo, that is awesome. And Kyle even was asked about it this week, and he's like, I didn't think he needed to be that harsh on himself, but I loved hearing it, because players who hold themselves to that level of accountability, that is special, right? And to me, through 3 practices, the one thing that is just abundantly clear is that the 49ers have 2 terrific young receivers who are primed for bust out. And I asked Trey about it yesterday. I said, Trey, let's talk about your guys. I said, you know your guys. You know your weapons. I go, tell me what you're seeing with Brandon and Debo. And he's like, Brandon's just catching everything. Ball, is underthrown. He's coming back for it and catching it like it's like the Super Bowl, 3rd down in the red zone, and the entire thing's on the line. He's treating every snap like it's like, I gotta have that ball. And Debo is in the best shape I've ever seen him, and he's light and he's lean and mean. These 2 guys are absolutely primed for huge breakouts. And so if you're in Vegas or if you're in Tahoe this summer and you're looking at that board and you're going, who do I wager on? Who do I bet for the Super Bowl? Bet on the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl. Because Debo is a major talent. Ayuk's a major talent. And these guys are now in the right headspace. They're in the right point in their career. Debo, it seems like he's self-motivated after getting the money. Ayuk's still trying to get that money and secure that bag. But these guys are about to have huge years. And I don't see any way the 49ers aren't going to be several steps better than what they were last year, simply because of the presence and the growth in those 2 receivers. I think every day I'm out there watching it, I'm like, this is all nice, but really the story here is that Debo and Ayuk are taking it to the next level, and they're going to bring the team with them. I really believe it. And it is stunning to watch because I thought they were damn good last year, but they are noticeably better this year. And I don't know if Kittle's going to catch a ball this year. I mean, seriously, it's like Debo and Ayuk are going to be dominant. That's my take. Give me your thought. You've probably watched both these guys, and you got an inkling. You're seeing the same things I'm seeing, even if you're not seeing it every day in practice. You're seeing clips. You're hearing these guys talk. These guys are after it.
Well, I think with BA, it's kind of just the maturation process of BA has gotten better every year he's gotten in the league. He's gotten physically better, technically better, professionally better with his attitude. How BA talks to the media when he first got on versus how he talks now. BA has definitely became a leader. One of the things that you hear about BA with, I think this is 2 years in a row now, is a lot of the young guys always talking about being able to hook up with BA, calling and talking to BA. You hear about little fights or little rivalries that BA has with certain DBs on the team. BA comes out and he does one-on-one interviews where he talks about the team. BA hit over a K this year. So for me, I don't really look at Brandon Ayuk as like a welcome surprise. I just look at Brandon Ayuk as almost like business as usual. He really should be a captain this year, honestly, in my opinion. I think he's one of the best leaders on this team, especially as one of the skill guys. And that's what leads me to my next point with Debo. Like, I'm happy where Debo is. I'm happy on how he got there. But, you know, I feel like a little bit of being able to see how other people do their work can rub off on you. Along the way, we had Emmanuel Sanders came in, and he was supposed to be a big revelation for Debo on how to act like a pro and how to be a pro in the league. Then there's always the tutelage of Trent Williams being just a bigger vet for Debo to come along. And then now I think Debo kind of dipped a little bit, and the presence of Christian McCaffrey has kind of woken Debo up. I think
I totally agree. Totally agree.
So I understand how you shaped it to me, but I look at this from a different perspective. Like, Christian McCaffrey is the ultimate pro. And not only is he the ultimate pro, but the way Christian McCaffrey goes about his business can make some people look like they ain't doing shit or they're not handling their business on the offense. And not only that, but Christian hits a couple of hats. He wears a couple of hats that usurp Debo's position on this team. When Debo was asked about why he fits in so well with this team, the first thing that Debo talked about was the Senior Bowl. How Kyle and the coaching staff was running the Senior Bowl and how much they loved him and how much they were galvanized by his production. And Debo even said, yeah, you know, they told me that if I was there at 2, that they would pull the trigger, that I was their guy, and they've always been straight up with me. And really, to me, that just shows that Debo likes to be petted. Like, Debo likes to feel special. He likes to feel like he's one of the guys. And that's cool, but you ain't going to be more special than Christian McCaffrey. Kyle changed his diapers. You know what I'm saying? He babysat him. You know what
Christian
I mean?
looks great, too, by the way. Christian looks great.
I know he does. And the thing about it is that you can't be coming to camp out of shape, or you can't be giving minimal effort, and then you got a guy like Christian McCaffrey who has the ultimate inside track with Kyle, right? And he still comes to work like he comes to work with a lunch pail with beans in him. Like he's playing like a poor man, right? So I understand that they look better, that they look good and ready to go. But with BA, I see it as a continuance of what he was already doing. He's ready to come on and be the man. I feel like BA feels a little disrespected with his position in the league as a receiver. He put out that tweet saying that he hit a K and he's still the 4th option on the offense, right? But then I also look at Debo and I see that maybe Debo's looking at the usage of Christian and how Christian is being used and how he's being pushed in this offense. And maybe he's saying to himself, I'm not the sole guy that can just get the ball on the offense 10 yards away from the line of scrimmage and just be special. Now I may have to pull my weight because we got Christian here now. So I'm happy because competition raises the floor on all levels, right? So I like it. I like what's happening.
Coach, awesome stream, man. 6 Bills in the house for this one. You know, I know it's not what you did the other day with Grant, but man, that's pretty damn big. So you're going on vacation next week. Where's Hannibal today?
Hannibal's right. He's sleeping, man. We went out for a run this morning, man. So he's sleeping. He gave me a couple of times. He nudged me a couple of times tripping about Trey Lance.
Can we see Hannibal? Is he in the picture or is he?
Come.
If nobody's seen Coach's dog, Hannibal is just a beaut. Just a beaut.
Come here, Han. Back up.
Let's see.
This is my guy.
There we go. How you doing, Hannibal?
Take a seat, big boy.
He's like, what? What? Time for me? It's my time? Yeah, Coach, you're the best, guy. Man. You're the best. It was a great stream. We'll do it next week. It sounds like you'll be on Great dialogue tonight or today, I should say, and have a phenomenal weekend, my friend, and hopefully we'll have another safe, injury-free practice week, and we can chop it up next Saturday.
Oh man, you know I love the platform. I love everything you do, Larry. Can't wait for it again, man. You know I love it, bro. It's awesome.
By the way, Brother Bob says, "Sup, Kev."
Yeah, oh yeah. Hey, what's good, Kev? We got to shout out Kev every show.
Kev's got to get some love.
Yeah, Kev.
Coach, peace. Have a great Saturday.
Hey, man, great talking.
Great talking. There you go. The coach in the house. Fantastic. All right, a couple thoughts from our sponsors, and then my favorite chat of the show, and then I'm off to Costco.
New York style sausage was started over 70 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
And do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
All right, coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show. Thanks to the coach. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for the super chats. Check out the YouTube channel, the Krueg Show, which you're on right now. You can go to the store and order merch. If anybody who orders any merch, I'll do a personalized video thanking you, because that's what I feel about the people who support the channel. If you support the channel and actually buy a Krueg Show t-shirt, I feel like I almost owe you some form of a personal thank you. So anyway, things are going great. We had a phenomenal week in training camp. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff coming up here in the next few days. Tonight at 8 o'clock, Jack Hammer stops by. We'll break down the first 3 days of camp with Hammer. I believe, looking at the schedule for this week, so the Niners have 3 on, then 1 off. So they're off today. They're back tomorrow. Shanahan talks tomorrow morning at 9:15. I'll be in Santa Clara for that. Practice at 10:25. Tomorrow night, I do a stream with my son, Kevin Krueger. We call him the boss man. So we got that on Sunday night. Monday, we'll have practice at 10:25. John Lynch will talk at 9:15. And I'll be live on Grant Cohn's channel Monday after practice. So check that out. Midday Monday, or maybe late, maybe more around dinner time Monday. Tuesday is going to be big as well. 49er practice. Brian Schneider will be out there. We'll talk to the special team coach. I'll be doing a Bleacher Report Giants trade deadline live stream. That's the trade deadline at 4 o'clock on Bleacher Report's app. Check that out on Tuesday. On Wednesday is the Niner off day, and Grant Cohn will stop by on this channel, the Krueg Show channel. We'll do a live stream, see if we can get 1,000 people in the room for Grant on Wednesday. Wednesday at 5 o'clock, I'm doing a live stream with East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Looking forward to that. Thursday, Niner practice again. And Thursday night is the big show with Vish and Jesse. This week, it'll be on Vish's channel. And so we got a lot going on. And then Friday, I'm not sure exactly what we got Friday. We'll be in Santa Clara, though, for practice. Brother Bob says, I will only go to see Kevin Krueger. Derek says, who was the coach guy? Coach is just he's a fan. He's a football coach, and he's a fan, and he's passionate, and he brings it, and I love it. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and he's going to be a regular on Saturdays on the Krueg Show throughout the football season. And my favorite chat of the day, TZ says, Larry's bumping to baby, laughing my ass off. And on that note, have a great day, everybody. Off to Costco. And by the way, I'm going to play horse with my 14-year-old today. He's beaten me 2 weeks in a row. He's beaten me. First, it was a best of 3. Then I said, hey, how about best of 5? What about best of 7? By the end, he beat me best of 11. So he's, and it's I think I'm a pretty good basketball player, but I'm 53 years old right now, and now, you know that age where your kids are better than you in sports? I think now my 14-year-old is officially better than me. We will have our horse battle today, and I literally compete to the death. I mean, I'll try every trick in the book: around the back, off the glass, one-handed shots, deep threes, off the backboard, catch it. I mean, I'll try like crazy to beat Christopher, but he's beaten me now 2 weeks in a row. Can a 53-year-old man beat a 14-year-old kid? The answer thus far has been fuck no. Hopefully that turns around today. Until later on tonight, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to ask.